So another preservation project that I'm doing is for my jalapeños. I have so many jalapeños. So I decided that I would make some homemade giardiniera. So in this bowl I have 5 carrots, 10 ribs of celery, 5 jalapeno peppers, and a half a head of cauliflower. And I'm going to cover that with a 1/4 cup of salt and stir it all up, and then just submerge or fill this bowl up with water just enough to cover all the vegetables and let it sit overnight. Okay, so like I said, I just diced up all these vegetables to the size that I want to eat them. And then I put on a 1/4 cup of salt. I'm just going to stir this all up, stir up all the vegetables, get the salt worked in to all of them, and then I'm going to cover it with water. Whew, those peppers are potent. Alright, now I'm going to cover this with water. So you can see that they're all covered with water, all submerged in the water. And I just stirred it up in the bottom just to get all that salt dissolved into the water. And then I'm going to let this sit overnight, and we'll come back to it in the morning. So just for reference, I used 3 of these Tam jalapenos, those fatter ones, and 2 of the early jalapenos, which are these skinnier ones. So we are back at it the next day. The vegetables have been in this saltwater bath overnight, and it smells absolutely phenomenal in there. And so I've got my jars all ready with all of my seasonings in here. And what I have in here is a half a teaspoon of oregano, half a teaspoon of coriander seeds, a 1/4 teaspoon of mustard seeds. The recipe called for fennel seeds, but I hate this taste of fennel, so I skipped that. A 1/4 teaspoon of black peppercorns. You can put in an optional 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper flakes to make it spicy, but I opted against that as well. And then an 1/8 teaspoon of celery seeds and a bay leaf. So that's what's in each one of these. So all of our jars are prepared as such, and our vegetables are looking fantastic. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pour these into a colander and thoroughly rinse the salt water off of them, and then I'll tightly pack them into these jars. So as I was washing and rinsing out all these vegetables, I ate one of these carrots, and it's delicious. It's nice and salty and already pretty spicy from sitting in here with the jalapeños. But because of that, I decided to put back on my gloves because I'm going to have my hands all in here, and I don't want to get all that jalapeno oil all over my fingers. So I'm just going to, like I said, tightly pack all of these jars. And so the way I'm going to do this is use my canning funnel and a spoon to spoon in all these gorgeous vegetables as much as I can, and then I'll pack it down and hand pack to the top, giving it I think a 1/2 inch headspace. And this recipe is for 6-pint jars. So that's all I've prepared here is the 6-pint jars. And it looks like I'm going to have to Peter and Paul this situation, but that's okay. It's the first time I'm using this recipe, so just see what works. So next it calls for a clove of garlic cut in half in each of the jars. So I have 6 cloves of garlic that I am just skinning, and I'm just going to chop them in half. But I just wanted to show you guys, this is the garlic that I harvested this year, and it is just absolutely gorgeous. I'm very happy with it. So I'm just going to chop each one of these in half and stick it in. Then I'm going to make the brine, which is equal parts vinegar and water and salt. Not equal parts salt, but equal parts vinegar and water with some salt in it. So this is what our jar looks like currently. And then we're gonna put the brine in. So in here I have 4 cups of water, 4 cups of distilled white vinegar, and 2 tablespoons of kosher salt. And I'm going to bring this to a boil, and I'm going to stir that up, bring it to a boil, and then I'm going to fill the jars with an inch, 1/2 inch of headspace. Alright, so I just took that hot brine and I just ladled it into my jars, the 1/2 inch headspace. So I'm just going to add a tablespoon of olive oil to the top of each of these jars. And then I'll wipe the rim of each jar. Put the ring on fingertip tight. And I'm going to water bath can these jars. So you just want to wipe the rims of all your jars so that if anything's splashed up, it won't interfere with the seal of your jar. Set a lid on each one. And put on a ring. Just fingertip tight. So these have had a chance to cool off. It's been over 24 hours and they look gorgeous. The problem with canning a recipe for the first time is that you can't try it, you can't taste it until you're ready to break the seal. So I just took off the rings and I checked the seal by holding them by the lid. I checked all of them and they're all good seals. I have 6 beautiful pints of homemade Giardiniera that are going to be delicious and I'm very pleased with. Thank you guys for stopping by today and joining in on our journey here at Bare Bones Living. We'll catch you on the next one.